An Australian writer says he was refused entry to the United States after being interrogated about his views on the Israel-Gaza war, as well as articles he'd penned on recent university protests there. Reporter Alex Lewis joins us now with the details. Alex, what has happened so far?
Well, Alastair Kitchen was travelling to the US last week to visit friends. When he arrived in Los Angeles International Airport, he says he was pulled from the line at customs and taken into a back room where his phone was seized. He was then questioned about articles he had written on the Columbia University protests, pro-Palestinian demonstrations on campus last year when he was studying at the university. He says the border agent then proceeded to question him about his views on the Israel-Gaza conflict, asking him what he thought about Israel, what he thought about Palestine, whether he had any Jewish friends or Muslim friends. During a second interview, Alastair says his phone was seized and passcode demanded, which he supplied to the officer. The officer then claimed to have found evidence of prior drug use on his phone. The officer put this to Alastair, who then made admissions saying that as he had previously lived in New York, where marijuana is legal, he had bought weed before in the US. However, just because it is legal in New York does not make it legal federally. And Alastair says he was told by the officer that as he had declared on his ESTA form to enter the United States that he had not used drugs, he had misrepresented himself to authorities. He was then taken into detention whilst awaiting a return flight back to Melbourne, during which time he says men and women were kept separately. Eventually, he was able to He was eventually able to put a call through to the Australian consulate, which got a message through to his mother to explain what was going on. But even once Alastair was deported, he didn't get access to his phone for another 14 hours until he landed back in Melbourne. He says his phone was given to the head flight attendant on a Qantas flight, and she said that the phone and his passport would be returned to him upon his arrival in Australia. Now, the US Border and Protection Agency has not yet responded to the ABC's questions. Qantas has declined to comment, but it is understood that the airline staff received a sealed envelope from border authorities. Let's now take a listen to how some of that border interview unfolded, according to Alastair Kitchen.
I was asked